Minimal noun phrase. Now let's look at this, that what can be the extent of minimal extent of a noun phrase. We have, while discussing the noun phrase, we discusses that what are the possibilities for a noun phrase. But here we are going to look that what can be the least minimal noun phrase. A single written sentence may stand for two different sentence structures, each having a different meaning. So it means that there is some structural ambiguity in the sentence. The structures differ because the words are grouped into different phrases. So in the structure is different because words have different groups. Sometimes they come under one group and sometimes they come under more than one group. Phrases can be discovered by replacement and movement of sequences of words. So we can easily distinguish that what is and what is not a phrase by these two tests, by replacement and by movement. Meaning and phrase structures. I was reading the letter to John. So if you look at this sentence, it's a very simple sentence. I was reading, the action is reading the letter to John. So this simple sentence can have two meanings. One, that I was reading the letter to John. John was listening to the letter. And second, I was reading a letter which was written to John. So why does this sentence have these two meanings? There is, as I said, is structural ambiguity. How does one sequence of words produce two different and alternative meanings? That is the question. So being a student of syntax, you must be very clearly aware of the difference, that how these two possibilities are there. Two alternative organization of the word, each of which delivers a different meaning. So we say that actually there are two different sequences of the words or the phrases, and because of these differences there are two meanings. The ambiguity is based on two different structures for the same sequence of words. This is called structural ambiguity. To understand how the string of words can produce two different meanings, we must say that they are visibly organized into groups. For example, if we look at this, make them as boxes, so we can find the phrases, I was reading the letter to John. So letter written to John. So this is one box. I was reading the letter. It's one box and John is another. So why there is so difference of meaning or structural ambiguity? Because the phrases are grouped in two ways. One, letter to John makes one meaning, and other, letter makes one meaning and John makes another meaning. Replacement and phrase structure. So let's look at this, that whether the way we have divided the group into two sequences is correct or not. We can replace it with a pronoun. So a sentence has a syntactic structure which is hidden from view, but which can be revealed by various tests. So first test is pronoun test. We replacement by it. So if a sequence of words can be replaced by the word it without significantly changing the meaning, then that sequence of word is a phrase. So if you look at this, I was reading the letter to John, it's changed with it and we get the sentence, I was reading it, right? What were you doing? I was reading it. So you have the letter in your hand and you simply say, I was reading it. And what is it? Letter to John. Similarly, we can say, I was reading it to John. So do you have replaced letter with it? And you can replace as well, I was reading it to John, or I was reading a letter to him. So all the possibilities are there. So it means that these phrases, these sequence of words are two different phrase groups in their own. So let's apply the second test, that is movement test. I was reading the letter to John. So this is one box. So the letter to John was read. So we have moved the whole box, letter to John. So it was one box. but the letter was being read to John. So here we can see that the letter is a one box and to John is another box. So because of these boxes, there were two types of phrases and there was two types of meaning of the same sentence. So we are replacing like for like, with the word it being a minimal or stripped down noun phrase standing for a more filled out noun phrase. So it is called a pronoun, though it should more properly be called a pronoun phrase because it substitutes for a noun phrase. So we have seen that how can be the minimal structure of a noun phrase. We can know why there is an ambiguity. We can use tests to know the replacement test and the movement test to know that which are boxes, which are phrase boxes, and why they are creating two different meanings.